Throughout cinema history, certain stars have remained at the top across multiple generations. These people continue to leave us in awe and have us asking many questions about their lives and careers. One of the biggest names to capture our imaginations was Greta Garbo. Garbo was arguably the most private star of any era in filmmaking. Very few saw her cut loose and be open. Most only saw the wall she put up. During this episode, Joe and I are going to look into Garbo's mysterious life and share some of her best films with you. As always, please remember to like, share, subscribe, and to support us on Patreon. We hope you enjoy this episode, so without further ado, enjoy. Greta Lovisa Gustafsson was born on September 18, 1905 in Stockholm, Sweden. Even as a child, she preferred to be alone. She also showed leadership qualities among her friends and soon became interested in the theater. After her father died when she was 14, Greta worked at a pub department store as a soap lather girl before making better money as a fashion model. In 1920, she acted in a commercial and in 2 years appeared in a short film for director Eric Arthur Petchler. In 1922, Greta began studying at the Royal Dramatic Theatre's acting school based in Stockholm. During her time at the school, Greta caught the eye of famed Swedish director Mauritz, the man who would become her mentor. Mauritz was a very tough director, but saw the potential Greta had and convinced her to change her screen name to Greta Garbo, to which she agreed. Stiller laid the foundation for what would become a cinema legend. He cast her in films like The Saga of Gustafsson, alongside another Swedish actor, Lars Hansen. Hansen would become a good friend of Garbo and even appeared alongside her in one of her Hollywood films. Garbo at this time was becoming well known in Sweden and eventually had a chance meeting with MGM head Louis B. Mayer, who was meeting Mauritz at the request of Swedish Hollywood director Victor Seastrom. Seastrom, who would also become a part of Garbo's tight inner circle later on, recommended to Mayer that he meet with Stiller as he felt the director would do great in Hollywood. When they met in Berlin, Garbo was there as well. While Mayer wanted to sign Stiller, the Swedish director insisted that Garbo be signed as well. Understandably reluctant, Stiller had Mayer watch The Saga of Gustafsson. Mayer immediately had a change of heart, so much so that he would have been fine just signing Garbo. According to Mayer's daughter, he was quoted as saying, "It was her eyes. I can make a star out of her. This director is wonderful, but what we really ought to look at is this girl. The girl. Look at the girl. I'll take her without him. I'll take her with him. Number one is the girl," unquote. While Greta Garbo was happy to be with her mentor in America, America itself was not a thrill for the aspiring actress. MGM had her waiting for weeks with no contact. She also was not satisfied with the image MGM Vice President Irving Thalberg wanted to craft for her. After being mesmerized by her screen test, he stated that Garbo would play a young but worldly wise woman. Garbo only saw herself as a young woman, but Thalberg usually had good instincts, and the films he cast her in proved those instincts right and showcased her great talent. Garbo had to have her teeth fixed and was required to both lose weight and learn English before appearing in any films. Greta Garbo's first film with MGM was Torrent, alongside actor Ricardo Cortez. Personally, I think Thalberg cast her in this film to test the waters and see how audiences reacted to her performance. Garbo ended up receiving high praise for her performance and was immediately cast in The Temptress. This time, Mauritz was assigned to direct, and actor Antonio Moreno was billed under her. This is very extraordinary, since Greta Garbo's presence and acting abilities were so powerful and good that she received top billing after only one film. Stiller found it hard working within the studio system and could not get along with Moreno, so Irving Thalberg replaced him on the project with Fred Niblo. Garbo was not happy with this, but still completed the film. While The Temptress was highly praised, reshooting scenes became expensive, and as a result, this became the only Garbo film of the silent era to lose money. Mauritz Stiller felt that MGM would ruin Garbo, given how he was taken off of The Temptress, and would soon move to Paramount and directed the hit film Hotel Imperial for them. Garbo, in the meantime, continued to make huge hits for MGM such as Flesh and the Devil, alongside screen star John Gilbert, who would become an on-again, off-again lover of Garbo. Love, The Divine Woman, The Mysterious Lady, A Woman of Affairs, and Wild Orchids. It was during the filming of Wild Orchids that Greta Garbo received devastating news. Mauritz Stiller had died. One of the men who worked on the set that day recalled, and I quote, "I thought she was going to faint. She walked slowly away from all of us, as if she were in a trance. When she got to the other side of the building, she stood there leaning against the wall, with her hands pressed against her eyes for several minutes. Then she pulled herself together, came back, and continued the scene. She didn't say a word to anyone about what was in the wire." The relationship between Greta Garbo and Mauritz Stiller was a complicated one, but there is no doubt that they loved and cared deeply for one another. It is said that when he died, he was holding a photo of Garbo. Following the death of Mauritz Stiller, Garbo became even more private, primarily socializing with people like Fred Niblo, Lars Hansen, and actor Nils Aster. It has been said that Greta Garbo was bisexual, given the reports and accounts from stars and biographers who claim that she had affairs with both men and women. Despite these relationships, Garbo never had plans to settle down and get married. John Gilbert proposed to her many times, and she always said no. Gilbert was apparently so in love with her that he told reporters that she had accepted his proposal and that they were going to be married in a double ceremony alongside director King Vidor and Eleanor Boardman. When Garbo read this, she made sure to get as far away as she could. She would often check into hotels outside of Hollywood, in disguise and under a different name. She also swore those who knew to secrecy. If they violated her trust, which some did, she would never speak to them again, viewing them as an enemy who wanted to exploit her for their own personal gain. She wasn't wrong, and I personally admire her attempts at keeping her private life private. That's not to say she was a saint. Garbo's attitude seemed to come off as someone who was used to getting her own way, and if she didn't, she would threaten to leave. To Garbo, she did not need fame or acting to be happy. She enjoyed what she did, but always made sure that if she were truly unhappy, she would go back home to Sweden. MGM was the last studio to convert to sound, and both Louis B. Mayer and Irving Thalberg were nervous about Greta Garbo making a successful transition, given her thick Swedish accent. Thalberg eventually found the perfect film that would complement her accent, Anna Christie. To promote the film, MGM simply said, "Garbo talks." The film was directed by Clarence Brown and co-starred big names of the era such as Marie Dressler. We want to show you a clip from this film. Garbo's first line has become legendary in cinema history, and Marie Dressler's comedic charm stole the show. Enjoy.
Give me a whiskey. Ginger ale on the side. And don't be stingy, baby.
Well, shall I serve it in a pail?
All that suits me down to the ground. Gee, I needed that bad. All right, all right.
Sure. You look all in. Have you been on a bat?
No, traveling. Day and a half on a train. Had to sit up all night in a dirty cold stew. I thought I'd never get here.
Where'd you come from?
St. Paul, out of Minnesota.
Minnesota. Then you're the...
All the way from Minnesota, sure. Say, what are you laughing at? Me?
Oh, no. Sure, kid. No, I was thinking of something else.
Well, I wouldn't blame you at that. I guess I do look rotten. I'm just out of the hospital 2 weeks. I'm gonna have another drink. What do you say? Will you have something on me?
Sure thing. Thanks. Larry? Larry! Little serves here.
Same for me.
Oh, same here.
Sit over here. Let's be friends, huh? I'm a dead stranger in this burg, you know.
Sure thing.
Let's go. Here's how, huh?
Here's luck.
Let you smoke in here, won't they?
Sure, but throw it away if you hear someone coming.
Well, ain't they fussy in these dumps?
The film turned out to be a huge hit for MGM, and another gem in Greta Garbo's crown. Anna Christie would also be the first of several Oscar nominations she would receive. The film came out in 1930, as well as her other film, Romance. Garbo's first Oscar nomination was for both of these films. She followed these up with classics like Susan Lennox, Her Fall and Rise, Mata Hari, and MGM's big all-star extravaganza, Grand Hotel. It was in this film that Greta Garbo utters her most famous and immortal line. Check it out.
Well?
I want to be alone.
Where have you been? I suppose I can cancel the Vienna contract?
I just want to be alone.
You're going to be very much alone, my dear madame. This is the end.
Shall I? Das war der Mischmaus.
By 1932, Greta Garbo's MGM contract expired, and she returned to Sweden. She still could not find peace, as her star status meant that everyone wanted a piece of her. Some publications even labeled her as selfish for not wanting to be bothered. Finally, after negotiating with the studio for a year, Garbo returned to MGM in the film Queen Christina. Garbo also demanded that John Gilbert play her leading man. However, the studio was reluctant, given how Gilbert's career was falling fast, but Garbo won out in the end. The film ended up being one of her biggest and most prestigious films, one that cemented her more than ever as one of the greatest, if not the greatest actress of all time. Irving Thalberg cast Garbo and actor Robert Taylor in Camille in 1936. However, he would pass away at the young age of 37 during production. While they had their disagreements, Garbo respected Thalberg and was reportedly close to him and his wife Norma Shearer. While she did not attend the funeral, given her uneasiness in crowded places, she sent over a lovely bouquet of flowers to Shearer. Surprisingly, Camille was not really messed with following Thalberg's death, as other films he had in production had been. Camille has thus been regarded as one of the finest pictures ever made by Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer. In 1939, Greta Garbo appeared in her last great film, Ninachika. What makes this film so unique is that it's a comedy, something unusual for the serious star. Like Anna Christie before it, Ninotchka was promoted with only 2 words. This time, Garbo laughs. If that seems unusual to you, then check out the famous scene for yourselves.
Well, how's this one? 2 men are looking at the moon. One of them says to the other, "Is it true that a lot of people live on the moon?" The other one says, "Sure, it's true, about 500 million. Then the first one says, "Whew, they must be pretty crowded when it's half moon." So you don't think that's funny?
No.
Well, it seemed funny to me when I first heard it. Maybe the trouble isn't with the joke. Maybe it's with you.
I don't think so.
I'll give you one more chance. Here goes. When I first heard this joke, I laughed myself sick. Here goes. A man comes into a restaurant. He sits down at the table and he says, "Waiter, bring me a cup of coffee without cream." 5 minutes later, the waiter comes back and says, "I'm sorry, sir, we have no cream. Can it be without milk?" Sure. Not funny, huh?
No.
Well, it is funny. Everybody else thought it was funny. Maybe you didn't get the point. I'll tell it to you again. A man comes into a restaurant. Did you get that?
Yes.
All right. He sits down at the table and he says to the waiter, "Did you get that?"
Yes.
All right. It isn't funny so far, but wait a minute. He says to the waiter, "Waiter, bring me a cup of coffee." And 5 minutes later, the waiter comes back and says, "I'm sorry, sir, we're all out of coffee." Oh, no, you've got me all mixed up now. Sits down at the table and says, "Waiter, bring me a cup of coffee." And 5 minutes later, that's it. He says, "Waiter, bring me a cup of coffee without cream." And 5 minutes later, the waiter comes back and says, "I'm sorry, sir, we have no cream. Can it be a glass of milk?" Oh, you have no sense of humor. None whatsoever. Not a grain of humor in you. There's not a laugh in you. Everybody else laughs at it, but not you. What's so funny about this?
2 years after MGM released Ninachika, Greta Garbo starred in what would become her final film, Two-Faced Woman. This film was to show Garbo as a modern woman who cuts loose in scenes where she dances the rumba, swims, and skis. While Two-Faced Woman made a profit for the studio, the reviews were negative. Garbo herself even referred to the film as, and I quote, "my grave." The timing of the film in 1941, the onset of World War II, and Greta herself worrying about her age all culminated with the humiliation she felt at the reviews for Two-Faced Woman. Greta Garbo had finally had enough and retired from acting completely. While there were attempts by both Garbo and producers to shoot another film, something always got in the way. Sometimes it was financial issues, and other times it was simply her not liking the script. Greta Garbo eventually relocated to New York City, where she would live the rest of her life. During her later years, Garbo collected many great works of art which were worth millions. She continued to spend time with close friends, but still made sure to safeguard her privacy. One of her friends, art collector Samuel Adams Green, recorded many of their conversations, with her permission of course. Green also became a walking companion for her. Unfortunately, Garbo ended their friendship in 1985 due to false claims that Green had allowed other people to listen to the recordings. In 2011, shortly before his death, he bequeathed all of his Garbo tapes to Wesleyan University. Greta Garbo died on April 15, 1990, at the age of 84. Her death was a huge blow to Hollywood and around the world. Garbo was a woman who knew what she wanted and had the talent and determination to get it. Her filmography is a treasure trove of amazing performances that any classic film fan would love. Her memory continues to live on today in various film festivals and from the works of film historians, who all agree that Greta Garbo was truly one of the best. We hope you enjoyed this look into the life and career of Greta Garbo. If you have any ideas of people we should cover, let us know in the description box below. All links to the show's social media pages are also down below, as well as our copyright disclaimer. Joe and I are looking forward to showing you more of the incredible history of cinema, both the good and the bad. We feel it's important to get a comprehensive look into this industry. If you have any thoughts you want to share about Greta Garbo, please let us know down below. Until next time, for Joe Lewis, I'm Big Rob, and we'll see you again soon.